Good morning. It's still early April 2025 up here on Ventnor Downs on the Isle of Wight. Just having a quick wander, see if there's any birdies around. So I parked up on Ventnor Downs last night. It's one of my favourite van dwelling, in my case car dwelling locations. You just saw my car. I live in a little C1, Citroen C1. It's a little tiny micro camper and I've lived in there. How long now? Over a year. Obviously lived in a Berlingo before that since 2018, February 2018. So 6-7 years. I'll let you do the maths. 5, 18, 19, 20, yeah. 7 years. There's a carrion crow sat on the, there he goes. Sat on the old public right-of-way side. Try and avoid the dog walkers a bit, get out of the way of them. They're already attacking each other. Marvellous. What a stunning morning. I put a little newer filter on the camera this time. Hold on, let me, there we go. You can see me now for a little bit, not for very long. I'm not very camera or I am camera shy to some extent. What a beautiful morning. So yeah, I put this little newer sun filter thingy, or light filter, whatever they are. I don't know if it's making much difference. I've got it set to 6, so it goes from 1 to 6, whatever that means. 6 being the, well, it looks like it goes darker anyway, so the highest degree of filtering, I assume. Really must do some more research on how to use filters in my little camera system. Let's scan around a bit. Isn't that gorgeous? All the gorse in flower. It's beautiful. Let's swing you around. That's better. Don't have to look at my ugly mug now. So I'm creating a channel membership thing. It'll probably be a Patreon. And most of those videos on there, you'll get extra bonus videos on there. And they will be me speaking to camera like that. Because I want to do more of that and try and build up my, or reduce my camera shyness. Look at this gorse. Isn't that beautiful? So keep an eye open for a link that might appear in my video descriptions about channel membership. And if you join for a small contribution each month, then you'll get access to those bonus videos. Probably be 1 or 2 a week. It's the old cattle grid. Let's go over this side. I want to look over the valley, over Upper Ventnor. Being followed by that carrion crow. Wants to be fed, I think. Sat over in the ash tree over there. Greenfinches calling. I wonder if this little path through the gorse goes anywhere. Quite often they fizzle out and you end up in thick gorse and bramble. This one looks like it might go somewhere. There's another crow on the ash tree ahead of us, all marking out their territories. It's carrion crows. There's a dog walker. Oh, there's a willow warbler singing. Very much doubt you'll have heard that on the microphone. It's a bit distant. So suddenly you start to see some very zoomed in photos or video clips on this channel. It's because I dug this thing out. Hold on, let's try and get it off my shoulder. This big camera that was hidden in the base of my car. What is it? A Nikon Coolpix P900, which I've never really used, or I used it a bit in the past. Got a massive zoom on it. I'm not really a photographer, but I can use this for, hold on, get it back on my shoulder. I can use this for getting video clips of birds and that kind of stuff, which might add a little bit to the channel if you can actually see close-ups of what I'm talking about. So little channel improvements maybe. You might have seen a raven video somewhere on my channel, or maybe that I put that on my Steve Jones Wild Writer YouTube channel. Can't remember, but either way, you will see some more close-up shots. In fact, I came back on the Isle of Wight ferry yesterday evening, and I'm going to upload a video of that probably at the same time as I upload this one. So, and that's got some close-up shots of redshank and that kind of stuff around Lymington. Does that path go anywhere? Looks like it. Just trying to get over to the view so I can view over the valley. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try and get this channel up to 2,000. And if you can hop over to my other channel, Steve Jones Wild Writer, you'll see additional videos on Ventnor and this part of the Isle of Wight, as well as videos on rewilding and wildlife friendly farming, that kind of stuff. And it would be great if you could subscribe to that one. There's a frost. God, it's frosty last night. I didn't feel that in the car. I absolutely love the car. Seriously, people think I'm crazy living in it, but it's so nice overnight in there. I've never really been a camper, so I've never really been much into sleeping in tents particularly, although I did for a period sleep in my bivvy when I was studying doing PhD stuff at the University of Exeter down in Penryn. I did use the bivvy for a few months in the summer, but I've never really been into tents camping and such, but I love sleeping in the car. So, you know, the key is to have a really, really comfortable bed, which I'm lucky to have. So I've got 7 foot of room, 7 foot of length in that car, which means I don't need to scrunch up or anything. I remove the passenger seat. I will do a video of my plans for properly converting that car. It's got a proto build at the moment, a prototype build, as I rather optimistically call it, which means I just slapped it together and haven't done anything much to it since. But yeah, I took the passenger seat out, gave me 7 foot of length. So I've got a 6 foot mattress in there. I'm only 5'8" or somewhere thereabouts. And because I've got a comfy mattress, it's just lovely to sleep in there. And I'm surprised I don't get claustrophobic, because I do get very claustrophobic in virtually all circumstances, in confined spaces, but in the back of my Citroen Berlingo I just don't at all. I've not had any kind of panic attack of any description in there, which is a real surprise. Yeah, it's really, really nice. Looks like the badgers have been scratching up the surface of the ground here, looking for earthworms and beetles and that kind of stuff. Not quite wild boar magnitude, but that's a species we really ought to nurture. I know there are issues because our outdoor pig units risk spreading diseases into wild boar populations. It's not the other way around. Wild boar don't pose a risk to domestic pigs as such. It's domestic pigs could spread diseases into wild boar. God, it's really scratched up the surface along here. Very hungry badgers. I assume it's badgers rather than wild boar. It's definitely not wild boar. They have a very distinctive kind of ground disturbance pattern, if you like. Just coming up to a little valley, which is what I wanted to have a look at. Almost got rid of my cough. Yeah, frosty down on the football pitch down there at the school. So this is Upper Ventnor, looking west now towards the Steep Hill golf course. And the cemetery is now centre frame. There's a little chapel of some sort in the cemetery there. I assume it's not a churchyard as such, I don't know, what's the difference? Just scan over through binoculars. Nice looking cattle over in the fields over there. Fake aurochs. So green hair streak will be out soon, I guess. Well, May time, I guess. And their food plant is gorse. So if you see little tiny green butterflies flapping around the gorse, they are tiny, like the little tiny blue ones, but a green version, and they're not a blue butterfly as such. They're a hair streak, but a green hair streak. They're frequent up here around the gorse on the downs. Yeah, you can really see the frost there. It's really chilly just here. I don't get cold in the car at all overnight. Odd as it may sound, it's really, really cosy. So I'm kind of reluctant to move into a bigger vehicle now. Just because I've discovered that during the winter it's much nicer to be in a little car. Look at this frost. So yeah, what I might end up doing, once I've saved enough money, is get a small electric of some sort. Well, actually, will I? Will I in reality? Is it feasible yet? Is there enough charging infrastructure for that? There are public chargers in the car park in the middle of Ventnor. So in principle, I could park up by one of those overnight, 1 or 2 nights a week. That should give me enough charge to carry on, because I don't drive very much. And if I got a reasonably up-to-date Nissan Leaf or something, it used to have, it ought to have a reasonable amount of battery capacity. And the batteries last forever. They're fine. Don't believe what you hear about the batteries degrading quickly and suddenly stopping to work. That's not true. But anyway, we won't get into that debate on this channel because that's not what we're here for. But yeah, I can't decide whether I would, once a C1 packs up, whether I'd go into a larger vehicle or not. Because I do love the tiny confined space. It's still cluttered. I mean, I've not managed to minimise as much as I need to. There's still stuff in there that shouldn't be in there. Well, there must be because it's full. So I've still got books in there, which I need to scan some of those, or take photographs of all the pages of some of those. That's the best way to scan these days. So I can keep those digitally, and then get rid of the physical ones. Lovely wren there. I wonder if I can get a close-up of him. Is he going to move if I move? It's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, another good one. Yeah. Frosty this morning. So I did manage to get some shots of that wren. Hopefully I'll remember to have stuck it in. Right, on that note, I'm going to head back to the car and then down into Ventnor Bay, I think. Not in a rush. What is the time? Let's have a check. It is 7:23. Gotta love this time of year. Let's move down onto the lower slope down here. We're looking down into the Roxal Valley now. Try and pick up another path so I don't get covered in dew. Don't particularly want soggy feet. Where is a path? Come on, dog walkers, you normally tread millions of paths. Yeah, there's one just here, I think. Let's cross over. The blackthorn is having a superb year in terms of flowering. You can see the white in the hedges along there. Look at that, centre of the frame. That is gorgeous. There's Roxal, the little village down there. Looking towards Stenbury down and Appledurkham. Just over there in the distance. Just scan over, what's that in the hedge? It's a buzzard with a magpie keeping watch over it. What are you doing, the magpie's saying. There is St Martin's down, I think, and Shankling down. Going to be walking into the sun, but it's not too bad. Linnet in full song as it flies over. Oh, there's another bird sat in the tree there. What's that one? Wood pigeon. See if I can get a close-up of that buzzard now I've said it's there. Let's see if I can get a video clip of it. Way too distant. There's the magpie. Oh, shaking around. Well, that was a truly awful shot of that buzzard. I was using the maximum telephoto lens, whatever, distance. And so I was shaking around, but yeah, that kind of distance, it's unavoidable really. Loads and loads of hawthorn seedlings coming up on this slope now, which is superb. It's going to turn into a really nice thicket for, you know, things like turtle doves love this kind of habitat. This is going to be wonderful. So I'm really pleased that the National Trust is allowing this woodland effectively to work its way up the slope. But unlike the woodland below, this woodland is grazed by cattle, which is as it should be. Because back in the day when we used to have oryx in the early up until a few hundred years ago, we used to have wild cattle roaming the landscape. These woodlands would have all been grazed, and then we drove them to global extinction, the oryx, our wild cattle. But it's great to see this woodland regeneration with cattle grazing, because it's exactly like it would have been in nature before we drove that species to extinction globally. If you go to Southeast Asia, look for banteng in the deciduous dipterocarp forest and gower in the more evergreen forests. They are wild cattle, just like our aurochs were. So you go to India, to the national parks, you'll probably see banteng, or you may well see banteng. Herds of cattle. Now they're wild. They're not a domesticated species. They're a wild animal. And we used to have our own wild version of that called the aurochs. And that used to roam around in herds, in the wild, in natural habitats, just like this, until we made them globally extinct. Now they kind of live on their DNA in domestic cattle, because that's, we bred aurochs to create domesticated cattle. So their DNA is still out in the landscape. And in principle, you could do some breeding to go in the opposite direction, go back to wild aurochs. Kind of roughly speaking, you can't completely recreate extinct aurochs, but you can certainly get an animal that looks an awful lot and behaves an awful lot like a wild aurochs. And that's exactly what people are doing in Europe. They're kind of back breeding back the genetic kind of composition and makeup of wild aurochs, and the animals that result will behave and look a lot like the original wild aurochs. And they'll be as close as damn it to them as well, biologically, ecologically. And I long for landscapes that are big enough to allow those kind of neo-aurochs, new aurochs, whatever, to be released back into landscapes so they can act as wild animals again, just as they used to be. If India, the most densely populated country on the planet, with God knows how many billions of people living in it, at a very high density, if they can have wild elephants and wild rhinos, one-horned rhinos, and banteng and gower, and all sorts of big wild, and tigers obviously, and leopards, they can have all those sorts of things, and I'm damn sure we could. Unfortunately, we can't even handle moles in this country. We get offended when a mole creates a little molehill on our lawn. Yet in India, they managed to nurture their tiger populations and rhinos. I don't know if you've seen a greater one-horned rhino, the Indian rhino. They're superb, but they're big. As are Asian elephants. They've got Asian elephants over in India, obviously. We can't even handle a weasel. Anyway, rant over. It's my Karen moment, moaning at the British, with good reason. Chiff chaff singing in the background. But I love farmers like this. If you look down, Roxal Manor Farm, the farmer there has gone organic, very low intensity. He's got cattle down there somewhere, I can't see them at the moment. But gradually nature is spilling back onto his farmland after years of, there's the cattle in the distance, after, decades of intensive chemical-based arable farming in that case. A new farmer's come on board and is doing brilliant things for wildlife. Right, I'm definitely going to need to go and get a coffee now. It's too early in the morning to be talking about what I've been talking about. Lovely magpie calling. Another species we can't cope with. When I say we, I mean a small number of people who tend to have guns and live in the countryside and drive tractors or shoot pheasants. They can't cope. I can, and you can, no doubt. Tell me in the comments section if you can cope with magpies, if you think they're just fine. Yes, they do eat eggs, but then humans kill vastly more wildlife than magpies do. But violently disagree with me, if you like, in the comments section. I try not to delete your comments. Chiff chaff. can see the bramble doing its biological, ecological duty here by protecting these emerging plants from the browsing cattle. So you've got kind of a shroud of barbed wire, which is the bramble, protecting these seedlings of, in this case, well, there's a sycamore, oh no, hang on, they're both hawthorns there, so they've got their own protection, but it's still doing the same role. Here you've got you've got an elm, sucker or seedling there, being protected by the natural barbed wire of bramble. Bramble is superb from a natural woodland regeneration point of view. You see up there, there's another sycamore. Not a fan of sycamores, but it's the principle that we're talking about here. God, there's a lot of hawthorn coming through. I'm really quite excited about that because red-backed shrikes love hawthorn. Well, they love this habitat. I mean, this is just perfect for red-backed shrike. Why is it perfect for red-backed shrike? Because you've got almost everything they need. There's one component that's not as abundant as it needs to be. But you've got bramble, emerging thorny shrubs, so hawthorn, a few taller trees, the odd ash, the odd crabapple, and then directly adjacent you've got these very tightly grazed, in this case tightly trodden paths, and you've got rabbits living in the patches of gorse and patches of bramble, and they're coming out and grazing off the grass. You've also got lots of tussocks. There's another hawthorn here that's been browsed off a bit, but it's doing well. Yeah, you've got the tussocky areas, which is where the orthoptera, your grasshoppers and your beetles are going to be hiding. What's slightly lacking here, but it's getting better over the years, well done National Trust by the way, this is their land, flowers, the herbaceous flowering element. But it probably is almost good enough. And the reason you need flowering plants is because red-backed shrikes love bumblebees, and bumblebees love flowers. So you need lots and lots of, you need a sward, a grassy sward that's full of wildflowers. Stunted ash tree here. Hopefully still alive, it looks still alive. And the other thing, so although the National Trust requires their graziers to not put cattle out with avermectins in their dung, that doesn't work here. The dung on this area that's owned by the National Trust undoubtedly is laced with chemicals, which is bad news from a dung beetle point of view, and red-backed shrikes love beetles, including those associated with dung. So two missing elements here. One is not quite enough wildflowers, but that's correct in itself because they're colonising, and the second one is the dung is not free of chemicals in it. Absolutely has to be. So you could easily rectify the dung problem by making sure your grazers don't have chemicals in the dung. It's basically anti-parasitic, anti-worming or worming drugs, that kind of stuff. Just kills the beetles as they lay their eggs in the dung beetles. Right, let's head back to the car so I can get down and get a cup of coffee and check out the bay, see if there's any migrant birds down there. Blooming quiet up here. Had a nice willow warbler singing. The chiff-chaff, the odd chiff-chaff, they're on territory now. Willow warblers won't be on territory, they'll be moving through. They're basically extinct as a breeding species here. There's a linnet in front of us. They'll be starting to nest soon. already starting to nest, to be honest. Right, where's the car park? Slightly disorientated. This way. Ah, there we are, over there. Well, I have to say there are no migrant birds as far as I can see at all along here this morning. Just above the skate park, it's a good spot to look, but I can't see anything. They love the blackthorns, which are in flower now, the birds. Because the blackthorns are in flower, they're attracting a lot of invertebrates, but those invertebrates aren't attracting anything in turn, in terms of migrant birds. But it's always worth checking though this time of year. What a cracking day. So finally the wind has dropped right off, so I probably will get the drone out today. Just spoke to a guy who watches the channel over there who's got his drone, so he may get his out as well. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. Somebody emerging from the sea. Must have swum over from France maybe. That's really dropped a lot, hasn't it, in these northeasterlies and easterlies. Come on you, don't be silly. Resistance is futile. Come on Pickles. This is Tony's tea room dog. Yeah, come on, you can come down. Come on the beach, on the beach. And she's just had a long walk, and she's slightly reluctant to have another one. Just take her on the beach though. Come on, Pickles. I'll carry you down. As I said, resistance is futile. Gotcha, gotcha. There we go. Now we're on the beach. No choice. It's a big footprint. Okay, she wants to go back. She said, I've already had a walk. Oh, scramble up, scramble up. Oh God. You're better than I am. So I hope you're enjoying this video about Ventnor and the Undercliff. If so, then don't forget there are 2 books that I've written. One, Bird Watching Around Ventnor, creatively named, and the second one is Wildlife Watching Around Ventnor. Just short books about the local area that are the subject of this video. Available on Amazon. I'll put a link below for this video, and You can also order it from the library, and it's available in all major bookshops, both of these little booklets, and in a few shops along the Esplanade, like the Longshoremen's Museum and Lady Scarlett's Tea Room as well. But yeah, I'll put a link to the description if you want a slightly deeper dive into the Isle of Wight Undercliff. Then these two little booklets might be of interest to you. Just go onto Amazon otherwise and just search for Steve Jones and Ventnor and you should find them.